What's good, family? So this week I want to add a little more structure to what we're doing and start to build a theme for our conversations throughout the week. This week, we're going to start with self-awareness. Know thyself. You pretend, I pretend, or pretended, however you want to call it, that we know a ton of things about this universe, about other people, and about ourselves. And the first step to true liberation, the first step to truly knowing thyself and understanding other things is accepting and acknowledging openly, honestly, transparently that you do not know. You don't know. You don't know the things that you've been thinking about. You don't know the places that you've been giving your attention to. You slip off in moments, leaving the presence where your power is, where source is, where your abundance is, and you go into the deepest recepts of your mind unconsciously, and you dance around in the dark, playing with toxic elements that you harbor on the inside of you and refuse to let go of. And that's your biggest problem. You've identified other people as your biggest issue. You've identified the government. You've identified inflation. You've identified international crisis and wars that are taking place thousands of miles away from you. It may not even be happening. You're just reading accounts of what is going on in places that you are not physically, because you love to preoccupy yourself with other things that allow for you to stray away from the absolute demand of this universe that you know yourself. You pretend to listen to other people when they're talking, but half the time that they're speaking, you're in your head thinking about a response. You're in your head thinking about something that doesn't even apply to the things that they're saying. And you're pretending to interact and engage with them on a level that is intimate while you yourself are wandering around in the dark. So what is it when we say we want to be self-aware? We want to grow to being conscious of our thoughts, recognizing our emotions, our behaviors, our motivations, being honest with ourselves about what we do and why we do it. No longer following the narrative that comes in the blink of an eye when someone accuses us of something or judges something that we do in a way that doesn't present us in the way that we've desired to be seen. Self-awareness involves understanding your own mental and emotional processes, understanding what it is that you do on the inside of you when you believe that you know something or you're informed of something, understanding the processes and patterns that you go through when you're having a reaction to current news or current events. It is the foundation for all self-knowledge. There is no knowledge without self-awareness. There is no knowledge of self. There is no knowledge of others. There is no knowledge of this universe without you sitting down and becoming aware of yourself, giving you the ability to observe your reactions and the patterns that you operate with without judgment. Regular reflection, meditation, and journaling helps cultivate self-awareness by identifying habitual thoughts and emotional triggers. There are a ton of ways for you to learn who you genuinely are, but it all begins with you stopping pretending that you know already. You've been explaining to people who you are for the last decade. You're not changing who they think you are. People will never blindly accept your verbal explanation of your character. People will continue to be as suspicious of you as they are of themselves. People will continue to expect of you what they have grown to expect of themselves based on the knowledge of how they operate when no one is watching. Understand that the way that people see you has very little to do with you and everything to do with them. That's why it makes no sense to submit to it. It makes no sense to live under the persecution inside of the prison of others' opinions and assumptions and projections of your character. It makes no sense for you to try to prove who you are to them, because people will continue to see what they want to see. They will see what they put in front of them. They will see what they put their attention on. Most people have not sat down and gotten serious about what it is that they want out of this life and what it is that they want from themselves. They have no set path, no clear purpose, no ultimate aim, no goal, other than the temporary satisfaction of their flesh. And sometimes their flesh gets them convinced that that temporary satisfaction comes from attacking you or attaching themselves to you in a way that makes them a liability in your presentation and you an asset in theirs. Remember, we did an extensive study of Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, where the art of manipulation and emotional deception is being promoted to gain power on the physical plane. Well, that's not the only thing Robert Greene wrote. Robert Greene also wrote The Laws of Human Nature. And this is a different form of authorship from Robert Greene. This is not his attempt to help you manipulate others. This is his study and data analysis of human nature. And he's an amazing author and a great analytical mind to follow into getting to know not just who you are, but who all humans have the capacity and the propensity to be. So let's look at some of them. The law of irrationality. We like to imagine ourselves in control of our destiny, consciously planning the course of our lives, but you are not nearly as rational as you imagine. We love to imagine ourselves as in control of everything. Control of what we do, what we have, who's in our life, who leaves. That's one of our main mental preoccupations. Pretending that we control things and moving and shuffling things around in our head as though what we do in our imagination is really having an effect the way we assume it is. Understand, all of the attention that you place on not wanting the outcome that it is that you're running from brings that outcome to you. So in a way, what it is you're doing in your imagination is affecting your physical experience, but not the way that you think, because that's not the way that you think about it. You think that the more you think about what you are about to do, the better equipped you are to move. You think that the more you plan, the more prepared you are. The more prepared you are, the better chance you have to succeed. But oftentimes what you call preparing is imagining all of the negative outcomes, thinking of all of the preconceived challenges that you can concoct in your head, and then coming up with a plan for what you will do if that arises. And that gives you this false sense of confidence that you like before you start new tasks. And that's not planning to succeed. That's planning to fail. By definition, that's trying. Under the preconceived idea that you can fail, entertaining the very doubt that is going to lead to your negative outcome. The law of narcissism. Everyone has some degree of narcissism in them. The stronger the feeling of self-worth, the more self-sufficient we feel. We could talk about that all day. You are so undecided on who you are, what you are, and what your worth really is, that some days it is very accurate to say that you think too highly of yourself. And on other days, it is very accurate to say, equally accurate to say, that you struggle with insecurity. And the only way that these two extreme presentations can be embodied inside of one vessel is if that one vessel has not made its mind up as to where it stands. And you have no idea. Sometimes the projections of other people lead you to entertain rewriting your entire identity. You talking to somebody that has not spent any time around you telling you who you are, telling you about yourself, has led you to question at times who you are. And the only way that that's possible, the only way that you would entertain a stranger giving you an explanation as to who you are, what you are, why you are, or what it is that you've done, is if you got a question mark on that within yourself, if you don't know. The law of role playing. In society, we all wear masks. People are constantly acting and concealing their true intentions. Mastering the art of role playing can give you a tremendous advantage. There's the language of the 48 laws of power, where we see deception and manipulation being used to lead to an advantage over those who are a part of the collective alongside you. But it's very true that in this society, we all wear masks. People are constantly acting and concealing their true intentions. Are they doing that because they want to hurt you? Are they doing that because they enjoy it? Or are they doing it because they have no idea who they are? They've lost sight of their identity, and they believe that they need an advantage over you. They believe that you have or may have an advantage over them that they need to conceal so that their weakness is not on display. Again, the human nature of role playing and wearing masks and pretending and concealing our true intentions is all based on the lack of self-awareness that we are talking about cultivating from within. The law of compulsive behavior. People tend to repeat patterns of behavior without realizing it. The key of controlling this is self-awareness. Compulsive behavior leads to character. Character leads to destiny. You done heard the cliche, but it's not just the cliche, it's actual fact. Your habits builds your character. Your character builds your destiny. These things are interconnected. There are no detaching these. You don't get to have poor habits but develop a grandest level of integrity. And without that good character that's developing partnerships and relationships of power and economical advancement, you're not gonna get to the level of success that you're looking to achieve. Simple as that. Your behavior is connected to your outcomes. Your behavior begins with your thoughts. Your thoughts that you entertain and partner with have been largely based on your lack of self-awareness. So we deal with our self-awareness issue. We deal with our weird thinking, and then we put an end to our weird thinking, and we stop finding ourselves compulsively operating in ways that leads us to negative outcomes. Duh. The law of covetousness. Desire is the driving force behind human nature. People covet what they don't have and often want more when they see others with it. Human nature is based largely in chasing desires, chasing your tail, chasing what you think you want, chasing what you tell yourself you need, chasing what you've partnered with the idea that you don't have. Again, self-awareness eliminates this element of human nature. This is not natural. It's not natural for you to follow your desires. It's natural for you to understand that all things were given to you freely by your Father, by your Creator, by your Source. Since the beginning, you have had access to everything that it is that you could possibly desire. But you should only have a desire for one thing, and that's more of the one who has already given you all things. More awareness of that one. More awareness of yourself, so you know how to partner with that one to get to the outcome for the collective and for you within your individual expression that you desire to see, or that has been desired for you. Understand, we're so selfish. We have followed our desires and been totally oblivious to the fact that we were called and chosen with a desire in mind for us. The desire was for full fulfillment. The desire was for full abundance. The desire was for peace, joy, and a full embracing of the inheritance that has been given to you and extended freely. The law of short-sightedness. People are naturally myopic. They focus on immediate gains or threats and lose sight of the bigger picture. You must rise above short-term thinking. Again, self-awareness is a great fix for short-sightedness. When you know that you have been stationed at the right hand of the Creator, set above, called to continually think on the things beyond, understanding that anything in the physical that you could get distracted and wrapped up with has an origin in the spiritual, in the metaphysical world, where you were told, you were called to set your attention so that you can actually have an effect, and you weren't just affected by the things that you continually give your attention to illicitly. But again, we become very myopic. We become very short-sighted. We focus on what we can get very quickly, immediate gratification. We are very fearful. We are constantly looking for the immediate threat. And we lose sight of the bigger picture, that if we would just set ourselves at rest in the position that we have been called to, at the right of the Father, in our elevated state, we can constantly keep in front of us the huge picture that keeps us from being entangled in the microscopic details of a physical presentation that is all but a passing simulation. It'll be over in a minute. You don't have to get wrapped up in it. You don't have to identify yourself in something that's very, very temporal. It's super fleeting. There are ancient texts that refer to the very life that you focus all of your attention on and give the ultimate fear to protecting and guarding as a passing vapor. Could you imagine the frustration of trying to hold on to a water vapor for 80 years, 90 years? Talk about anxiety. Talk about panic attacks. Just stay in the moment. You're an eternal being. Again, self-awareness is a great fix for short-sightedness and for the fear that we operate with on a daily basis of things like dying and non-existence and not mattering. Understand that this is exactly why we need the self-awareness lesson that it is that we're headed for. The law of defensiveness. The natural tendency is to react emotionally when criticized or challenged. This reaction blinds us and causes more harm. I don't get defensive. I ain't mad. What you mean? Who yelling? I ain't even yelling. Understand that defensiveness operates like blinders. It's like putting your hand in front of your face and trying to explain to somebody what's on the other side. It's pointless. But that's our natural tendency, is to react emotionally, to use the signals on the inside that are supposed to indicate to us when we are giving attention or giving thought to something erroneously or accurately in a way that aligns with the universal truths that govern our experience. We get caught up in these emotions, again, with no self-awareness, without knowing what these emotions are supposed to be. We allow for them to become our leaders and dictators. And our emotions are blind. Our emotions have zero regard for universal truth. Our emotions are not loving. They're not kind. They're not sweet. They're not considerate. They're very self-centered. They're very selfish, which is why people are constantly trying to tell you that you're selfish. And you are constantly in a debate of defensiveness where you say you're not. But how can you not be when you're constantly having emotional reactions, and those emotions are your indicators that are going off on the inside of you and you're following them? So if you're operating as the subordinate of your emotions, you are definitely to be classified as selfish. But it's okay because we becoming self-aware so we can know that we have no need to defend ourselves from people because people cannot harm us. We have no reason to have an emotional reaction when criticized or challenged because this is someone's opinion, and their opinion is a reflection of our assessment of ourselves. So it's not them that we're upset with in the first place. It's the fact that somebody has discovered something that we thought was hidden or concealed on the inside of us. The law of self-sabotage. Humans are often their own worst enemies. We act in ways that undermine our success without realizing it. Because of a lack of self-awareness, because we don't know that our attention drives our experience, because we don't understand that we are eternal bodies of energy that are constantly in motion, calling the very things in our experience to us by our attention. We operate largely from fear and doubt, the very things that hinder and keep us bound in this experience and keep us on the inside in turmoil and conflicted. And that is why it is very, very necessary, once again, that we get this lesson on self-awareness. We have to know who we've been so that we know why there's such a need to spend a week learning about self-awareness. Other than that, we're not going to take the week of self-awareness seriously. We got breast cancer awareness. We got all kind of monumental days and weeks and months built for causes and diseases that have been concocted by the medical field that have no factual basis inside of the experience of you and I being a kingdom of love sent to a external physical plane to cause the physical plane to be an expression of the spiritual kingdom of which we arise. It's just something to do, but we like that because it keeps us preoccupied and it keeps us from being conscious of the fact that we have yet to get serious about self-awareness. Law of repression. Repressed emotions and desires can lead to outbursts and irrational behavior. To master yourself, you must confront these inner demons. Self-awareness, once again. You've been lying to yourself, telling yourself you're okay. You've been lying to other people, telling other people you're okay. But then you lay in your bed and you watch TV until you fall asleep because you hate the silence. And why do you hate the silence? Is it because in the silence you're plagued, haunted by pictures, images of past experiences that you've yet to let go of? Narratives that you've written for yourself that now hold you hostage? Is this your definition of being okay? No, you've been trying to be okay. And the only people that try to be okay are those who are already conscious of not being okay. You need to be self-aware of what's going on the inside of you. You need to be self-aware of what you haven't healed from. I understand that you told them people that you forgave them, but you know on the inside of yourself that you ain't let that go. So if you're not gonna get serious and be honest with them, the least you could do is be real with yourself, so that you can begin to progress through the toxic experience that leads to the liberation and peace that you were designed for. But you've been pretending that it's not there. You've been living with no self-awareness. So the demons just been in there roaming. And you pretend that the demons are something irreversible, something irrevocable, something out of your control. Law of envy. Envy is universal. Though people rarely admit to feeling it, understanding how envy operates can help you navigate human interaction more smoothly. Very, very true. Envy can be differentiated from jealousy, as jealousy is, I don't want you to have what you have. Envy is, I want what you have for myself. Envy has destroyed friendships, relationships, partnerships. Envy has led to murders, has led to botched robberies where I'm from. Envy is very, very toxic, very, very present, very relevant in our experience on the physical, but just as Robert Greene presents, though universally experienced, ain't too many people going around accepting the fact and acknowledging, especially out loud, that they're envious of anybody or anything. And the crazy thing is, you've been envious. I have found myself envious, not only of people, but sometimes of organizations, companies, entities, things. And it's in our conversation, so don't even act like that. Oh, man, I wish I was a kid again. But them kids ain't gotta pay. Oh, you better cherish them years. I wish I can go back to when I ain't had no bills. You finna be envious of a child? You're about to pretend that you're so desperate to go back to living for free that you'd willingly return to being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, and what time to return. Stop it. You didn't like being a follower the first time that you were supposed to follow your parents and listen to them. Now you've had a taste of adulthood and you're so beaten down and broken over the experience that you have played because you didn't have the self-awareness to do it the correct way, that you're saying silly stuff to your kids like you wish you can go back and be a kid again. No, you don't, because when you was a kid, you was just like them, wishing that you could be an adult so that you can do whatever you wanted to do. The law of GRosity. As people achieve success, they often develop a false sense of superiority, losing touch with reality. You know it don't take much. You know it don't take but a couple thumbs up, but a couple double taps, but a couple reshares. You know it don't take much. You know it don't take much but some sweet nothings and a text message, but a FaceTime, but a phone conversation where someone is willing to break through your dysfunction, where they are facilitating and meeting the expectations of your past traumas and dysfunctions and jumping through the hoops that you have set up socially that allow for you to operate in the blindness and say, okay, you got your little Ray Charles, in the Ray Charles movie, he used to feel the women wrists. And that was his way as a blind man of knowing whether he wanted to go and partake in a night with these women. And you have a way of feeling for risk in the blindness that you operate with spiritually. And that way is these social loops and hoops that you set up for people to jump through. You announce who you are, what you've been through, and what you will not tolerate from the first time you encounter somebody. And then you turn into the judge with the gavel, in a robe, sitting up high, looking low, trying to see how the person who has crawled over into your presence is meeting your requirements. And don't trip. Don't trip. Because I'm so not one of those people who comes and attacks women for looking down, talking down, belittling men. I'm actually one of accountability. I am a king, and I hold kings accountable for their crown. If a king has not established his kingdom and he is not operating from his position of power on his throne, and he has set his mind, set his attention, and set his efforts on acquiring a queen, then that means this young king who has not stood himself up on his feet and not secured the well-being of his own kingdom has crawled himself into the presence of a queen. And any time you crawl in front of anyone whose attention you require, they have to look down to give it to you. So we're not going to feel bad for anybody who's being belittled or mishandled, because they have belittled and mishandled themselves in the act of crawling in the presence of someone they thought they needed. What they needed was the self-awareness so that they could stand up on their own too. And what was for them could be attracted to them. So we'll do this one for the last one. The law of fickleness. People's opinions and loyalties are constantly shifting. You must be aware of these changes and adapt accordingly. You must be aware of these changes and adapt accordingly. Self-awareness allows for you to understand how fickle other people's attachment and loyalty and opinions are. Understand, if they put you on a pedestal today, anything you do overnight just may qualify you to be dethroned. That's why you should not allow for them to throne you. You should throne yourself, because you're not going to overthrow yourself, are you? You're not going to allow for a false accusation to cause you to forfeit your kingdom, are you? But if they put you on the throne, they put you on the pedestal, a lot like the pastor of the modern Western church. If they give you the seat, they can take it from you. People's opinions and loyalties are constantly shifting. They don't know who they are. They have no self-awareness. Their identity is not set. It's not etched in stone. It's not solid. It's not concrete. They're not standing on it. So how can they stand on you being who you are? They're identifying you by your actions, by your thoughts, by your ideas, by your statements, the same way they do them. The law of social influence. Humans are deeply social creatures, heavily influenced by the people around them. Understanding this allows you to better control group dynamics. Understanding that people are influenced by what they see and what they've engaged with is very necessary in being self-aware, because it allows for you to understand that the things that you do are not necessarily because you like them or you want them. It's because you know them. It's what you're familiar with. So this is very important in the lesson of self-awareness. The law of groupthink. Individuals in a group tend to conform to the collective mindset, often at the expense of their own rationality. Learn to think independently, understanding that in large groups, when under the influence of information and under the power of energy moving in a way where it's supposed to or is desired to have an influence over us, we can know that, hey, things are moving. It's time for me to sit still and develop an inner view that allows for me to know that I'm not under the influence or under the gallows of a group. The law of patterns. Human nature is often predictable. The key to power lies in identifying these patterns and using them for your advantage. You know better, you do better. Like I said, we can do this all day. If you have partnered with any of these laws of human nature, any of these flawed premises that we have based our identity in as we operated from the ignorance of who we were created to be, then make sure we locked in this week. Make sure we're really focused on the lessons and conversations of self-awareness. Make sure that we're not just listening to the words, but as we're engaging with it, we're not just judging and assessing ourselves, but we're looking beyond that. We're allowing ourselves to keep a positive mindset, keep our eye on the things above, and see the big picture. Understand that you judging yourself has never led to you fixing yourself. This is bigger than that. Self-awareness is first identifying the fact that there are flaws in our presentation that are based in us not knowing us. So me seeing that I have had an absence of knowledge towards myself, I understand that if I want to move into a higher expression, if I want to move into a greater presentation on the physical and on the emotional, psychological, and spiritual plane, I must know myself. I'm no good to you if I don't know me. I can't tell you anything. I can't lead you anywhere. I can't even follow you if I don't know myself. I'm a ticking time bomb if I don't know myself. I'm an emotional wreck if I don't know myself. I'm a dependent if I don't know myself. I'm a hindrance if I don't know myself. I'm a burden if I don't know myself. Somebody has to carry me as I flop on the floor and have temper tantrum after temper tantrum when I don't know myself. And these are all ways that we do not like to see ourselves. So let's lock in. Love, safety.